You too busy playing dress up. Using my skin like a costume.
A costume, Fury? Do you not recognize this skin? Huh? This face? This was the first human I killed. And you know why I killed him? I killed him because you told me to. Oh, wow. You don't even remember. The first mission you sent me on. You know, I was young, I tried my best. I wanted to give everything to impress my hero. You know, the one who promised us a home. But this man, Fury, he had a wife. And he had children. Yeah, all right, maybe he was a bit misguided. But I killed him because of you.
Hey, Powers, welcome back to the show. I'm Mark.
Oh, I'm Robert.
And I'm Steve.
And this is going to be a spoiler-full podcast about 2 episodes, which would be episode 5, Harvest, and episode 6 of called Hope in the Secret Invasion
Hope or
series.
Home? Thought it was Home.
Home?
Home.
Yes, you are correct. Home.
Yeah.
Sorry, I wrote Hope.
Right.
Why did I write Hope?
Because they need some hope.
Oh, wow. I guess we'll talk about that later. But you know, it's a spoilerful overview of this particular ending of the series and where it may be going. So we're going to do this. We're going to tackle it episode by episode, Harvest being the first one. And we'll segue into that. Both were very short episodes. If you think about it, they were less than 30 minutes overall, with even with like taking credits out.
Yeah, less than 40 minutes, 35 minutes, something like that. So they were
at most,
very short.
So it's weird. You would think with something of this magnitude that they did, these would be longer, but obviously they're not.
Yeah.
But we'll move right into episode 5, which is Harvest. So, Steve, what is the synopsis?
Short and sweet. Fury gathers his allies. Gravik deals with unrest.
Yeah. And we see a lot of unrest from Mr. Gravik.
Oh, yeah.
Especially the way he treats his people. I mean, this is where we go into our points and interests of the episode. But Gravik is a character that we should touch on, and his needs and what he's doing. So what were your thoughts on Gravik as a whole within this particular episode, where his focus was lying?
All right, I'll start on this one, but I'm gonna say that Gravik's character in the beginning, he seems to be a very interesting character. I definitely will say that. His motives, all those things, but he seems to be a character that just wasn't done the right way. And his motives just seem to me at least weak, because he seems to be the only one holding that grudge of whatever Nick Fury put him through.
Correct.
Compared to everybody else. The actor, which I forget the names, the name of the actor itself, but who's actually pretty good. He actually recently came out in the Barbie the Barbie movie.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so he's actually, I think, very good, a very good actor, and I was happy to see him on that. But I don't know, I think his character was one of the most interesting ones there. Everything else, I think, fell flat. At least Disney decided to get themselves some really good actors with this entire series. They just didn't leverage them the right way, I think.
It's the writing, I think, because honestly, my focus on Gravik and the way it was, brought in from the very first episode and what we knew of him, and all the way up until maybe about the 3rd episode,
right,
it was very much focused. It was a focused character on a mission. And then as we see between 4 until I say the last episode, everything was focused more on emotion and passion about he was treated, and he kind of leveraged that onto his people, which were the Skrulls, and trying to utilize that as his way. a lot of it is writing. Rob, you had stated in the very beginning that the whole intro is done by AI. I would not be surprised if somebody at the very end said, "Hey, let's use AI to write this last episode."
These last couple of Gravik. It was interesting because I didn't get when he changes the plan, right, and decides to go against his own people, and that's where I was like confused because I was like, wait a minute, his new plan is that he is going to have the Skrulls themselves get involved in this fight, and like it fell flat for me because I was kind of like going, wait a minute, the whole point of this was you wanted Russia and the United States to fight against each other so they cause nuclear war, and your people can survive, but none of the humans will. Get it? But now when he finds out that it's revealed that there was an alien at the site of the president's attempted assassination, and suddenly the world knows that they're there, then he changes it and he goes, well, now I'm just going to kill all the people that actually support me and hope that the rest of the million Skrulls that are on Earth will follow me after that. I didn't get like
I understand. Too passionate at that point, if you think about it, because he's sacrificing his own people, but also just to make like a species extinct at that point. Yeah.
He's sacrificing the people who support him. And so what are the people that don't even know what's going on? Right. There's let's say, okay, I don't know how many Skrulls were in that compound. Like there could have been more than maybe a few hundred, right? Let's say there was even 500. If he had 500 people in his compound, right? That's still 999,500 other Skrulls out there that don't even know what the heck is Gravik. Like they don't even know.
Yeah, depending even if they got the information. I didn't get that note.
Yeah. He didn't send out a memo to the entire Skrull population with this. So all they're going to know is, hey, you started this war and you killed your own people. How do you think we're going to feel now? Like it just, and then when we get to episode 6, we'll get to what happens there. But it's like he lost his mind there. Like I think you're right, Mark. I think the writing, it was just poorly written, and
the character was clouded by his intentions without including others, even though his overall scheme totally was to be inclusion of his own people, the species. And at this point, as we see little spoilers at the very end for the last episode, he's a speciesist. He just became, it's not racist. He's a speciesist. He just hates humans at that point. And most concernably is Fury himself, which we do find out in the last episode exactly his intentions of why he did what he did, which was okay writing. It was done very well. But in this case, the statement that the writers were trying to give to us as the audience and when he's talking to his people was kind of overshadowed because they just want to look at him as a crazy dictator in this particular episode.
Yeah.
And Harvest.
When he kills that guy Beto, he just slashes his throat right there in front of everybody. And like I said, how does he think anybody's going to follow him after that? I didn't get Gravik.
It doesn't make any sense. You're right, Steve. It just doesn't make any sense on the character itself. Like their motives really don't make sense either. I mean, it's just a small group. Basically, think of it as a small terrorist group that's just trying to pretty much create this havoc in the world. And of course, Nick Fury. And we'll talk about Nick Fury. So here's what I would say is that I remember when we started this podcast on Secret Invasion that I said, well, so far I'm going to give it a chance. And then all of a sudden it came up to, what is it, episode 3 or 4, where all of a sudden the president, or 4, where the president actually they try to kidnap him or something like that. And I was like, okay, finally this show is starting to, ramp up. And then it just took a downhill turn again.
Yes.
And it lost that momentum. And like I said, I felt like, and by the way, the actor's name is Kingsley Benadir. So like I said, his character of Gravik, it just seems like, hey, he's just a terrorist. He just wants to basically just watch the world burn, as they say. And but it's not like, hey, all the Skrulls are actually looking to, exact revenge on Fury the same way, or they're pissed off that they're on Earth or something like that. You know what? It just seems like it's just a few of the Skrulls that are kind of, disenchanted with the whole thing, but the rest, we don't know about the rest. We don't know what's going on with the rest of these Skrulls. We don't know what's going on with, we know what's going on with Fury's wife,
Yeah.
which, she's okay with being on Earth. And there's probably other Skrulls that are okay on being on. For all we know, the majority of them are okay with being on Earth.
And the majority of them are blending in, not that they, he has this small minority that wants to wear their own skin and live in their own place. But then, like I said, there's, a million of them. So there's a whole bunch out there that are just living their lives,
Right.
just doing their thing as a human. And I don't know if they all, like Vara and Priscilla tells the story of how she got the body that she has, and it sounded pretty legit. So I don't know if the rest of them are like, what was the suggestion was that I think he said something like, well, I didn't know if you just picked it out of a crowd in Canada and chose that form, right? And then came to the United States. So I wonder how many of them have doppelgangers out there that they've never even met, that they just see somebody and then they go to a different place to live out their lives.
It seems like there's a lot of them that just got replaced and they got taken out of basically out of civilization, because towards the end of episode 6 you could see that.
Yeah, they kind of take whoever they take possession of, they literally house them somewhere else, and they take up their appearance.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the million other Skrulls, the 900,000.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
And that's the problem. We don't know if they took them out or if they just replaced them.
Right. We don't know.
So
and the show never gives us anything of that, of no just answers. The average Skrull out there living their lives, on Earth. That if Gravik hadn't done what he did, because I keep going round and round with the same thought, that it's just he has this like small cyclical thing. Yeah, he has this small percentage of people that, like Rob, you said, are disenchanted with Fury not finding them a home. But yet there's 900,000 other Skrulls out there that apparently are, as far as we know, because the show didn't tell us, are just happy living their lives and are blending in. So,
I wish they would have. What I wish I would have seen is, hey, all of a sudden there's all these small Skrull cells throughout the entire world waiting for Gravik to actually give the word or something like that.
Right. Or show us more of Brixton, of the people living in Brixton who are Skrulls
everywhere, because they're supposed to be all over the world. So show me that, hey, this is not just in Brixton, but this is, hey, everywhere in the world, every Skrull is waiting for Gravik to give the word so that they can now take over the world or whatever it is that they're going to do. But this is more of a concentrated thing. And to me, it just seems like, hey, it's just a group of, just, again, a terrorist cell that's just deciding, oh, well, we don't like the way things are being done. And that's that's the biggest problem I had with this with this whole show. It was just that little bit, but the implications of having 1 million people being replaced is huge. Right. And the fact that, we saw a few leaders and things like that, but I wish they would have shown us everyday people all of a sudden are being replaced.
Yeah, the side shot, or even them seeing the exposure of Talos at that time when they killed him on screen, protecting the president at that point, and them going, wait, when did this happen? And they are in their own home watching TV, and they just turn to a Skrull with shock on their face going,
right,
I never got that. And they should. It's kind of like a they live kind of moment. They live amongst us. But the thing is that majority of them, I would believe in my mind, because like you said, Rob, that it's like a small sect terrorist group that Gravik was leading. But a lot of those people, like what Steve was saying, is that they're living their own lives and they don't have a clue as to what's going on in this world as other people. And then they see this on the news. And the thing is, media is everywhere and they should be able to see it and then have that expression of like, well, I didn't do this, because at the very end, we find out this episode that the president wants to destroy everybody. at
Correct.
certain points.
Exactly. So if you're gonna do something like that, let's see the reaction of the world going, holy shit, what do you mean there's a whole bunch of people out there?
Mhm.
Let all of us all of a sudden see how humanity reacts very quickly to suspicion of everybody. It's like, well, are you a Skrull? Are you a Skrull? They did that towards the end of episode 6 where they were killing people that was
Mhm.
Skrulls and non-Skrulls. But I
Correct.
think that should have been something that they should have done, I think, early on to kind of, that would have been a great part of the story if like early on people start to find out and what is the reaction
Yeah.
towards the entire world of something like this.
Mhm.
But not only that, like you were saying, Mark, hey, maybe half of them are going, whoa, we never agreed to any of this.
Mhm.
Well, so also the fact that, hey, they are Skrulls on Earth that do not want this.
Mhm.
They know that there's no other life. Yes, Fury said they were going to get us, a home, but so far so good. I'm in a good place. I'm not being
Mhm.
hunted. I'm not in war, nothing like that. I just have to disguise myself or whatever it is. Show something like that, but no, what they did was just one little island of
In Russia,
in Russia of these group of people that are there.
the Russian
And
compound, and that's literally that all we had seen.
right.
And
Right.
like you were saying, it's like one of those where it should have been, they could have added to that for a montage of just within a filming showing these people. It's like somebody that works at Walmart comes home, goes into their kitchen, turns on their TV, and then next thing you know, they see this.
Mhm.
Right.
What is going on? Hold on. I didn't sign up for this. And I didn't, like, we were joking, I didn't get that memo.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And on top of that, once the humans in this world see that as well, you have people being very suspicious of anybody they talk to because they don't know if it's a human or a Skrull. So they don't even know if their neighbor is. They accidentally shoot their neighbor and he was human.
Correct.
And then you have somebody else like down the road that is a Skrull going, I'm not going outside.
Yeah.
Right. It's this. I think this was just lazy writing. This was really lazy writing because when you start to do something like this, you have to actually think of the ramification of what's going to happen when the population of Earth finds out that there's 1 million Skrulls throughout the world. It's like saying the pandemic. When we were in the pandemic, what happened? Well, shit, everybody just went on lockdown. You see everybody with masks. Nobody wanted to touch anybody. Keep away from me. Keep 6 feet away from me. I mean, there were people in scuba suits. All right. That shit really made me laugh when I saw a picture where somebody was in an entire scuba suit with an aqua lung and everything in a Walmart. And I'm like, okay, like the ridiculousness of what's going on with this pandemic. Imagine if you were to tell people, hey, there are aliens from another world that look exactly like us,
Mhm.
or have replaced us, or whatever it is. We're going to hunt them down. Well, in the meantime, while you're hunting them down, how am I supposed to live?
Right.
And that's something that I think should have been covered. They never covered it, and it sucks. But
they left it out.
yeah, they left it out, and it is what it is. So I thought it was lazy writing. I think the only part that I really enjoyed, honestly, out of this entire show was Olivia Colman's character.
Yeah.
First
I
of
want
all,
to talk about. I want to talk about Sonya Farms.
because first
Sonya
of
was
all,
good.
we're talking about an Oscar-winning actor
Mhm.
that they grabbed for this show, but it's just the way she pretty much carried on with that type of character was, I think, awesome.
Yeah.
She didn't have a care in the world, and the way she carried herself, I thought was actually very amusing.
Yeah.
And she was the only one that honestly was interesting to me.
I totally agree. That scene, I have it in my notes. That scene when she goes and gets the doctor, right? And she's like looking at the lab and she's like, this is a great lab. It's too bad I have to torch it, And
Right.
then the husband grabs her as a hostage, and Sonya Vaughn was just like, oh man, they're always threatening us with killing us or something else. And then she just shoots him in the head, like just out of the blue. I was just like, whoa, And then the next episode, we'll talk some more about her because she does some more stuff in the next episode.
Yeah, because that's an interesting character. The fact that she's like that, but like in a split second, she just shot the other guy, and she had like this stone cold
Mhm.
look on her face. And that made me go, wow, this is somebody who has been in this business for a long time.
Because she knew that she
And
knew
who
the female
knows-
was the brains of the outfit. You
But
know,
no, not only that, but who knows what her past is? Like all these things just made me so curious about her character.
Her,
Like if
yeah,
yeah.
if they did a good spy series with her, sure, I would definitely watch it.
that was great. That scene when she's talking to
The
Fury.
scientist?
No, when she's talking to Fury and Fury tells her that Rhodey is a Skrull, and that look on her face of total shock of she didn't know that Rhodey was a skull, a skull, that Rhodey was a Skrull was great. I loved it both times watching it because the way her face reacts to that news, you can tell she had no idea that Colonel Rhodes was a Skrull.
Yeah.
And Fury's like, and you say I'm missing a step, or something like that. It was
Well, let's touch upon that because fucking Fury knew that that Rhodes was a Skrull, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
He could have just shot him exactly where he was at. He would turn, and this could have all been avoided. But no, he didn't do anything.
No.
He's like, "Oh well,
Until
you
the
willing
next
to?
episode.
Yeah,
Yeah.
are you willing to die? Just like just to you have to kill me in order to prove it. And are you willing? You're not willing to die right now."
I love that shot at the beginning of episode 5, where they bring the president to the hospital and Fury posts up, outside the door. He's got that chair. He slams that chair down. He's got his gun in his hand. And like, this is like the old Fury. Like this is Fury, right?
Yeah,
Right.
Not the
he's
old
standing
man.
up for what he needs to. Yeah.
Yeah. Not the old broken down man who's, at the end of his career. That's Fury posting up with a gun in hand going, I'm going to protect the president. But then Gravik calls him and he has to leave to go get the DNA, and I'm
Right.
like, great. So you're going to leave the president just completely exposed. Like you said, Rob, you're leaving the president completely exposed so that when all that Skrull Rhodes has to do is come in and talk to the president. You find out from Gravik in that phone call what the new plan is. The new plan is we're going to have everybody turn on the Russians and the Skrulls. We're going to act like the Skrulls are working with the Russians.
Mm.
Right.
And it's just, again, it's that I understand we had to get to that point where we have these super duper Skrull, but yeah, it's
There's a way to end it to get a way around that, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, like, yeah, he gets up from his chair, goes out the hospital, and he winds up making a phone call. If you think about it, that's all he had to do.
yeah,
And it's to me, it was a nice standoff verbally, and it was good dialogue between Fury and Bravo, who is Rhodey, and
Rava,
Brava.
RAA. The
Rava.
closed captioning, the closed captioning had Rava,
Oh, yeah,
RAAVA.
I had
'Cause
Grava. I don't know why. I'm just going by my ears.
yeah. No, I had the closed captioning on, and the second time, because I didn't notice it the first time, but the second time, Gravik says her name
Oh, okay.
when he's talking to when he's giving.
It's
Rhodey-
actually Vara. VA.
No, Vara-
Vara
that's
is
Priscilla.
Fury's wife.
That's
So
Fury's
who
wife.
are we talking about?
Rhodey, the Skrull pretending to be Rhodey.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The Skrull name is Rava.
Yeah.
Rava. Okay.
Yeah, which is a female. We
Okay.
find out too.
That's how much I didn't care about what was going on with this show after a while.
But yeah, it was a good interaction, good dialogue. The writers actually got it forth to put in a plan for the story. He leaves, but yet he comes back, and then
Right, he comes back in episode 6. That's
episode 6
right.
exactly. But the manipulation by Rava to the president is what's interesting, because it's her just constantly, through being Rhodey, trying to influence him, which is very interesting.
Yeah. I thought
It's all about the manipulation aspect of it.
Yeah. And then
And I mean-
Fury's go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Fury's meeting with Gaia. I don't know if are we ready? Are we ready to move off from that topic and go to Gaia? Because I think Gaia is another one we want to kind of need to talk about.
Guys,
At least
in
here
this
in episode 5. Yeah, she doesn't have
okay.
she doesn't have a big part in it, but she definitely she's got a pretty good sized part in this episode here.
Yeah, she does, especially during when she visits the house and meets Vara,
Mhm.
and the whole discussion about her father, and then it's the funeral pyre that they have to do. But she's so young, she doesn't remember anything of the world of Skrull. So she doesn't know how to do the prayers or for the funeral pyre. So she kind of relies on Farah to do that for her. And I
Yeah.
thought that was kind of an ingenious little segment in there for the fact that it's like, okay, a lot of these people don't know where they came from. And that also leads to the millions that they have that are on Earth that are claiming people's lives, because the only world for some of them, a lot of them, because I'm sure there were a lot of young children, only knew Earth and didn't know Skrulls at all.
Yeah.
Correct. Which
Yeah.
is actually very it's very reminiscent to what's, sometimes what happens here in the United States with the whole thing with the immigration, which is,
Correct.
hey, you have people who did cross the border, 20, I don't know, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever it is, and they had kids here, and now they want to actually or not even that. The kids, when they crossed the border, were probably 9 months old or something like that. But all they've ever known is the United States. How are you going to take a child that all he's ever known is the United States and then throw him back to, to Mexico or to wherever it is?
Yeah.
And,
I mean,
and I don't want to make,
yeah.
I don't want to make this like a political thing or anything like that, but this is basically the same thing. You're going to probably have a lot of young Skrulls that did not know their own home world, but they grew up on Earth. And so how are they going to deal with this? Or, or how are they reacting to all this stuff?
Yeah.
And
we go
Guy
back.
is one of them.
Yeah. We go back to the conversation we had at the beginning when we started recording. Is it just, they didn't show us the average Skrull out there.
Yeah.
Who's not part of Gravik's community. So.
Yeah. And Emilia Clarke, let me tell you. So here's what I think about Emilia Clarke. First of all, I think she's an extremely talented actress, just very, very gifted, I think, in that sense. And of course, I admire her very much, and she's absolutely gorgeous. She was wasted in this show.
Oh, yeah.
Her talent and who she is was completely wasted in this show.
I mean, that conversation she has with Fury is really good, where she says, "Don't worry about me, I'll put on a good face." But when Fury sends her to the house, that's a good scene between her and Fury when they're when she talks about when she was a child, I used to hide under that table right there and listen to you all making your plans and doing your things.
Well, there was the story. It was really the story about what the mural was on the wall about people who were oppressed, and she didn't understand it. Now, as she's gotten older, she understands it from her viewpoint, based upon being a Skrull, because it was during war and a lot of these people were taken away from their country and they're stuck in a foreign land and they had to adapt, but they were still ostracized in some way.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. I mean, that again, it's just, and I'll go back to what I originally said, a few episodes ago. I was like, the story of Secret Invasion is Secret Wars or something like that, or Secret Invasion.
No, it's Secret Invasion, but
is it a Secret Invasion? Okay, so Secret Invasion. But the fact is that Secret Invasion was all about how the Skrulls replaced, especially a lot of the superheroes.
Yes.
In the Marvel universe. And granted that, I'm sure they didn't have the money to try to bring back a lot of these other actors.
Yeah.
For this. That's why I completely believe that this whole show should have been an Avengers level event where it should have taken place in theaters. It should have just over the course of, I don't know, like maybe 8 movies or whatever it is, or
maybe
7
3 seasons, slow burn.
No, but I'm saying 7 movies that, get released in the theaters. And then, you have the major, Avengers event where now all of a sudden, people like, maybe Captain America got replaced. Maybe even Tony Stark got replaced if he wants to come back to the to the MCU. All these things, that can really make people go, holy crap, we're getting some of these other people that, which made the MCU work for the first 10 years.
Yeah.
Coming back. But instead they shrunk it down to this one show, which honestly was not very well written, I think.
Yeah, I think they saw a meal and they ordered more than they could eat, and they realized that they couldn't really provide what they needed.
Right.
And honestly, if they did it as a show, they could still get those people that back if they wanted to, because they're contracted under Disney and Marvel. But the problem is that they wanted to keep it under budget. Like I said, the first 3 episodes, very good in its content as far as maybe writing, but after that, it kind of swayed off. And then I think they realized they ate more than they could chew. And they realized, oh, well, we're going to leave this as is. And they let the director and writers go from what they needed to. They probably used, like I said, AI to fill in the gaps.
Well, no, I mean, I don't think they
Like
did
Jurassic
that.
Park, you got to fill in the gaps somewhere.
Yeah, no, I don't think they did that. I just think that they just, I've always said it, they just didn't know the IP very well. They did the fact that they thought they could do this as a spy thriller. I think they failed miserably because let's be honest, I thought this show was going to be about Nick Fury and who Nick Fury really is. His past, really, not just marrying a Skrull, but even before that, who maybe how he, from Mrs. Marvel and on, what happened between all those years?
Yeah, give me a
instead
show.
of him just instead of him just going up to the damn station and just I was depressed.
Give me a show that's the 15 years or 20 years before the blip, where he's building his network, where he's sending them out to do jobs, where he's, like that show. There's your spy show. There's your spy show of him building his network of Skrulls, choosing who they're gonna replace, and then sending them out on missions to get things for him or to do things for him. And give us that clip. I guess I don't remember. There's an after credits clip of people collecting the DNA samples at the Battle of Earth. I thought that mentioned on some podcast somewhere.
I don't remember them. They mentioned it.
They mentioned it, but the thing is, I went through that. I did not see any of that. But
they didn't see any of that. Yeah,
that's literally what we get out of the story. Is that's what Fury was in charge of? Was the Skrulls gathering that DNA and to pull any things?
Yeah, give me that show. Give me the show of him, like I said, sending them out on missions and stuff and building his network. Give me that as a show.
Right.
And you've got me hooked.
But I'll be very honest with you. Even having, so when they said that, when they said that Nick Fury, the reason Nick Fury is the legend that he is because the Skrulls were always helping him and that nobody else knew that. I think that's a very cheap way of killing that character.
Exactly.
They should have actually leveraged that a little bit better and just make it sound like part of the government already knew this. So
or
that
the government was involved too with Skrulls. It makes me think damage control was a whole thing full of Skrulls.
Well, that would have been great too.
Yeah,
or something like
where
that.
He said in whatever episode 3 or 4, whatever, where he told Fury that he knows about the Skrulls, that he was in a briefing, whatever, 15. I was in a briefing 15 years ago about Skrulls.
Yep.
Yeah, Rhodey's saying that I was in a briefing about these Skrulls. So the U.S. government at least knew that long ago that Skrulls were out there doing this. And
so show something like that. And like you said, Steve, maybe what they could have done is done 2 seasons. First season is how he built this network, and they can even show maybe a little bit of some flashbacks of after the battle of Endgame, how some of the Skrulls were out there cleaning up. Damage Control was also out there cleaning up, and probably the fact that most of Damage Control is composed of Skrulls or something like that. That would have been really great, because now you're like, holy crap, this is really, really, this is what's really happening. And then give us like the last episode of the first season, give us the blip, and then show us what happened during those 5 years that Fury was gone, and how the network fell apart, and how Gravik built up his own personal network or something. Give us an episode of that, and then season 2 we go into this part of it, because we know, okay, we got Gravik built his network, and now in season 2 Fury's got to dismantle Gravik's after the 5 years, and after he comes down from the spaceship, he's got to dismantle this network, because this network that he created. Yeah, basically. And I think the great part would be, the first season you can also show, like we were talking about, some of the Skrulls around the world, how they have actually acclimated to, you know, society and stuff like that, and you know, and how like maybe even kids could be like, oh, you know, I know you want us to go back to it, but this is the only world I've known. Things like that make it where the second season, when Gravix does do everything he's doing, maybe some of these families are going, this is not what we wanted. You know, yes, Fury was supposed to get us our home, but in the last 15 years, this has become our home. You know, things like that. That would have made me go, okay, this is a lot more interesting than what we got. You know, and then of course we get the last scene of Fury, you know, in episode 5, that he goes to a grave and gets the DNA of.
No, that's in episode 6. In episode 6, he gets the DNA.
That's like something out of Terminator.
I'm sorry.
Right
You're
there.
right. He gets the DNA, and then he goes into the crypt. He goes to the crypt, and he gets the eye patch.
Gets the eye patch. I'm like, all right,
and the knitted hat.
And,
yeah,
and he changes coats, showing. I guess
they
showing
make it
that
seem
he's
like, oh, okay, Nick Fury's back. No, he
He's
wasn't.
got a costume.
no, yeah. It just and I'll talk about when we get to episode 6. I'll talk about that inconsistent eye patch.
You know, the one thing they could have at least had told us is like, hold on, all your pop culture and everything that you loved were really Skrulls. So all the people you hated, like Justin Bieber or Taylor Swift, were really Skrulls in the real world.
Hey! Don't pick on T Swizzle. All right, don't pick on T Swizzle.
I'm just using that as an example.
Well, shall we move into episode 6, since we did get to that end scene where?
No. By the way, if you would have done, if they would have done what you said, where they all of a sudden show like Justin Bieber and all that stuff, a lot of people, the first thing they would have was like, didn't they do that in Men in Black?
Yeah, that is true.
It's true. And how did they get all that DNA samples into that one little vial?
Exactly.
The thing is, that's not how DNA works. Or that, you know, or in you know, splicing all these different DNAs from different species. It just doesn't work that way. That's why when they did that, I was like, okay, is there a science behind that? I don't give a shit if you tell me that they got science from the Kree Empire that can tell me that. But don't just say on Earth we actually put all this DNA together.
Yeah, and we got this one little vial of yellow liquid that looks like pee.
Yeah,
you know,
it's the gene splicer that the scientists actually that created for Gravik at that point. That Sonya winds up like doing and taking care of at that point. Yeah, they made it specifically so it could identify every independent DNA, so that way we could do that. Oh,
did you guys get to see the like when he took that DNA and he was trying to verify it, like all the character names that were mentioned?
I tried. It went way too fast for me to catch all of them. But I saw Captain America, Winter Soldier,
Gamora. There was Drax. It was just like, come on. Thor was in there.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, and honestly, no one vessel could house that much power without exploding. So hopefully, listeners, that will happen to Gaia, so they can eliminate the one true strong.
Well, let's get to episode 6 now.
Yeah, we'll do that because I definitely want to talk about the Super Skrull thing. And
yeah.
Okay.
So the synopsis for episode 6, Home, is pretty short. Again, all these have been real short, and this might be where you got your hope from, Mark. All hope for humanity rests on Fury's shoulders.
Yeah.
Simple and to the point. Another short episode. Like I said, like Mark, you and I we all talked about at the beginning, less than 40 minutes with the credits. So, you know, it's so like 30 minutes of actual episode time.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It was actually, let me see. It was actually 33 minutes.
Wow.
And that's with everything. That's with,
no, with 33 minutes of show with the credits. It was like 37 and a half minutes or something.
Okay.
So we're looking at like an extended version of Three's Company. Because back then it was like 28 minutes, but who cares?
My first big question of this one. This is a spoiler podcast of this episode, so you better watch the episode.
Right.
When did Fury and Gaia switch places? Like they couldn't have done it in Finland because he had to use his breath and his eye, right? So it had to be sometime in between Finland and him going to the hospital in Russia and her going to the compound. They had to switch, but I wish they had showed us that.
Yeah,
Well,
they
remember-
should have showed us something.
Even if they did it after
Or
the
a phone
reveal
call.
that or something, but after the reveal that she's the one at the nuclear compound. Like as soon as they show her catch that fist, maybe they flash back to a scene between the two of them where they're switching places, because that, like I said, that line from episode 5 where she says, "Don't worry about me, I'm going to put on a good face." Obviously, she's going to put on Fury's face, but she couldn't have done it then because Fury had a whole lot he had to do after that. I mean, do they change does their physiology actually change? Would she have had his breath? I don't know. That was my first big.
So what do you mean
question.
by his breath?
Well, he had to breathe. He breathed on the headstone. It's episode 5. He breathes on the headstone to get it to raise
Right.
up.
Yeah.
And then when he goes into the crypt, he uses his good eye. Wait,
His
he
bad
uses
eye.
one of the eyes. He used one of the eyes to open the thing with his
Oh, I
coat
see what
and
you're
his
talking
eye
about,
patch.
yeah.
So I'm just asking, when did they switch
I
places?
think it was
Because
after that.
I would think it'd have to be, but it's just one of those things that just one of those this episode was just so
All
frustrating.
over the place.
Um,
But when you say that, Steve, I really honestly think that Fury was he made a phone call from the hospital. That's why he stepped away. And then later on, when he comes back, he probably made the phone call to Gaia, put this into motion, and then Gaia went to Russia.
well, no,
And
because he got the phone call from Gravik telling him to bring the DNA.
Yeah.
So then he had to use Sonya's connections,
Mhm.
right, to get to Finland to get the DNA. And
Correct.
Sonya's there with him in Finland. So I think they're coordinating all this stuff, because then she's the one that calls the hospital and tells Rhodey that Fury is on his way. And Rhodey is like, well, I've got whatever 40 men here that are going to protect the president. She's like, what is that? Target practice to Fury.
It's true. Target practice.
But it did look like he was carrying not a regular pistol. It looked like he was carrying, like, he was shooting maybe knockout darts or something at these
Yeah,
guys.
it looked like darts to me too. Like he was trying to just incapacitate them.
Right, not kill
Yeah.
him. The only one that he actually killed is Rhodes when he shoots Rhodes in the head. But
Correct.
yeah, that hospital scene with the president, Fury, once he gets the president right, he keeps saying the rebel Skrulls. He keeps singling out, like we talked about, this little terrorist network that Gravik had.
Right.
He keeps singling out the rebel Skrulls. The rebel Skrulls are the ones who are enemies. But all the president hears is Skrulls, because then he goes on the TV, there at the end, and is like, we're gonna kill all of them. We're gonna murder. I don't want them on my planet, and all this. And Fury's like, that wasn't our deal. And the president's like, I don't care. If you really care about these Skrulls, get them off my planet.
Right. And which kind of leads me to believe, which is interesting, because when you see the president, this is a very different president than who like on the, what is it, the new movie that's coming out with Harrison Ford, not the Thunderbolts.
Oh no, it's not the Thunderbolts. It's Captain America: Brave New World.
No, there's the Thunderbolts also, or something like that.
Thunderbolts is coming out, yes.
Right. And that's going to have General Ross, who eventually becomes, I think, the president or something like that. So something tells me that this move that this president's doing is not going to be seen as a popular thing. And he probably loses the presidency.
Well, that's what
And then
Fury,
General
Fury
Ross
says.
probably gets into it or something like that. So that's what it seems like. But then here's what really gets me about the last episode. I was at least hoping to see Maria Hill, because Maria Hill is actually present in the Marvels.
Well,
And I
lot
guess
of
now
people are speculating it's before this event.
Yeah,
Right. So now it's
people
either before this event or Maria Hill's the damn Skrull.
or it's gonna be a flashback, or I think TV podcast industry's brought up that the Marvels is supposed to take place before Secret Invasion.
Yeah.
But it still doesn't. It's still. Yeah, they need to get their act together. It's just.
Yeah, it's all over the place.
I was glad to see Martin Freeman, alive, his character alive and out there. And we got to see Don Cheadle, the real Rhodes. So we know that he's back.
Yeah.
But it means that he's been replaced in secret. What is it?
Civil
Civil
War.
War.
Yeah, because he's wearing the same gown that he was wearing at the very end of Civil War when he was getting
Okay.
his MRI and X-rays done.
Okay,
And
that
they put him
makes
in
sense
that.
to me.
So a
Right.
lot of people were speculating on the internet, and mind you, listeners, yeah, we're days away since the episode aired. A lot of people have their viewpoints, but that gown is a dead giveaway right there. Especially the
Yeah.
look of shock when even when Guy says and when what was it? Martin Freeman looks at him and goes, "Captain
long have you-
Rhodes, you're here
Colonel
too."
Rhodes?
And,
You did
then
call him
Rhodey
Colonel.
tries to get up and walk, and he can't walk. And she goes, "Oh," meaning that he didn't even know. And
Right.
now it's like, wait, there's a Rhodey out there that never knew that Tony died for the
Yeah.
world. And
Mhm.
on top of that, what the hell was a Thanos and what was a snap? And you have all this stuff.
Wow, that's a
Yeah,
good point too.
Think
that-
about
that-
it. You have a character that pretty much missed out on half of whatever happened in the MCU in the first 10 years, where you're like, they should have shown a scene where it's like, what do you mean, Tony? I mean, that was his best friend. Tony died. So damn, show me something where like maybe Nick Fury, it takes, Rhodey to, the
grave,
wherever
right.
he's buried or his
or-
grave
yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah,
Something where like he has to explain to him. I was like, yeah, this happened, the snap happened, we lost Captain America, we lost
Black Widow.
we lost all these people. And I mean, that would have been a great scene. I think that would have been a fantastic scene where it's like Rhodey trying to deal with that fact. Now, how is the MCU going to deal with that? Deal with that one point. Not only that, but correct me if I'm wrong.
Good.
All these people were in the island too, right? The ones that those were the people that were in the
You're
island,
talking in Russia.
right?
Yeah,
The
well,
ones-
the radiation is a problem with me because apparently you see
Again,
Gaia
yeah.
fainting like as Fury didn't take
Right.
the iodine pills
right.
and faking that they're dying, but yet these people are in captivity underground with all this radiation around them
For
What?
months, if not years.
There's an easy answer to that though. They were shielded.
Suspend your disbelief.
They were
Comics?
shielded. Yeah, they comics. They were shielded. Whatever room they kept them in, whatever stasis field they had them in, was protected from. I thought the same thing though. I'm like, going, wait a minute, wouldn't these people be dead? like you're gonna like she's flipping all these switches to bring them back to life, and she goes, oh yeah, radiation poisoning. Everybody's dead.
Yeah. That was
so
just again another thing that they definitely missed.
Yeah.
At least tell, say something like, shouldn't we all be dead or something like that? Or
yeah.
whatever it is. And for a guy to say you were, the stasis field was protecting you from the radiation.
That
That's
would be a
it.
quick
That's all
line
you
that
have
would
to
fix
say.
it. Yeah. We'd fix it and we wouldn't be having this discussion. But yeah, there was a lot of things. There were a lot of things in this episode. Like I said, the inconsistent eye patch. Like one scene he's wearing it, one scene he's not wearing it. Then at the end he's wearing it again, and he's wearing the like in one scene he's got the beanie but no eye patch, and then he's got eye patch no beanie, and then at the end he's got beanie and eye patch, and I'm like going,
I
seriously.
gotta definitely check that out just to see.
Well, when he's talking, I'll put it this way for sure because I watched it when he's talking to the president on the phone. And he tells him, that's the move of a one-term president. He has no eye patch. He has no eye patch on, and he's wearing the beanie. When he attacks the hospital, did he have the beanie on? And I don't remember, but yeah, check that out because at the end it's very inconsistent whether he's wearing the eye patch or not. And I'm like going because you can see his eye moving when he's talking to the president. Yeah, when he's talking to the president, I'm like, oh, make up your mind, Fury. Wear the patch or don't. But
well, I mean, I'm watching it as I'm talking to you guys, silently on the side, and I'm waiting for that scene to come up, and I'll let you know if he is or not.
If I missed something, because it really looked like he's not wearing it when he's talking to the president, and then when he meets Vara, he's wearing it, and I'm just like,
yeah. It's like all over the place. I don't think they had continuity in place. Somebody probably lost their job now.
It's like they spent all this money on the fight. The super duper scroll fight.
Oh yeah.
They spent all that money and all that CGI to make that fight that everything else kind of fell to the wayside.
Well, you know what? Let's get into that because so first of all, the Super Skrulls, at least in comics, was supposed to have the powers of the Fantastic Four. 4 powers, and that's
one
it.
scroll that was a
One
super
Skrull.
scroll.
Right.
Yeah, that was the Thing, Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman, Reed Richards, the Elastic Man, and you got the Human Torch by Johnny Storm. And
Right.
you were able to use and intertwine those powers, and that's what it was. And then later on, they did Secret Invasion, where Skrulls were adapted to mimic certain characters or some of these heroes independently, like Spider-Woman, Reed Richards alone, or even Iron Man or Captain Marvel or whoever it was.
Right.
And that's how that Secret Invasion was. But with this, now it's all right, we're going to throw all the DNA in you. Gravik's got it all, and so does Gaia, but Gaia knows how to use it like it's like her left hand.
Right. And that's the thing that I was, but not only that, so I spoke to somebody that really knew the topics of Skrulls and stuff like that. And he says, first of all, the Super Skrulls, whenever they gained all those powers, they would actually die off because they couldn't handle all that.
Which
right?
I think might happen to Gaia in time and could have happened to get Gravik. So that's a way of getting rid of Gaia at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but the fact of the matter is that all of a sudden you had this, and to me, that last scene with Gravix and Fury, I have to say that Kingsley really did a great job. I mean, at the acting part of it, right? And here I thought, okay, man, this is actually a good scene.
The dialogue was amazing in it,
right?
But he focused on the skin. I took this. This was the last mission I did. I killed for you, my hero, and just going on in this massive dialogue, which is so good.
Well, and it is so good.
We get overshadowed by the superhuman battle.
It doesn't. What really sucks about this whole thing is that it was, you have Nick Fury and all of a sudden they cheapen it out by saying, oh no, it's Gaia. And it's like, come on, man, that's cheap writing there.
And that's the thing too about there's a line that Gaia as Fury says that makes me wonder if it's true or not, because what he says, I figured out in just a few years that there was no planet out there for you. And so if that's true, again, that cheapens, if that's something that Fury told her that she'd be able to say, or she's just making it up, either way, that cheapens what Fury did, because it means that he basically kept them in the dark. We've been questioning, why could Captain Marvel and Fury not find them a home? Well, he just revealed, he says, well, about a few years in, I realized there was no planet out there for you. So now I'm going to give you all this power and I want you to go conquer another planet. And I'm like, what? Seriously?
Well, honestly, if you think about it, Fury himself is a user. He used these people because at the very end scene, he goes, oh yeah, we were able to make some arrangements with the Kree. And it's just
he says they're willing to have peace talks.
They're having peace talks with the Kree, so that might actually become something where, like, if they do find peace, that the Skrulls might be able to have a world in the Kree Empire or something like that.
At the very,
or go back to Skrullos or whatever.
At the very beginning of Endgame, we already saw a planet that is populable. It's Thanos's garden area. Send them there.
Yeah, this is a show that doesn't make any sense because look, through Guardians of the Galaxy, they've been to many worlds. You're telling me that you couldn't call the Guardians of the Galaxy and say, "Hey,
Peter Quill,
I'm trying to find a world for the Skrulls. Is there something out there that you could see?"
Yeah.
But no, they didn't do that. Again, lazy fucking writing. That's what I call it. It's just lazy writing. You watch Gaia, like I'm looking at Gaia right now trying to fight with, and all these different powers and all these things. And you're right. It's like, how the hell did you learn how to use these powers?
It's like, sleep like Mantis or having the Frost Giant's frosty arm go through his chest.
Yeah.
Well, and she did the phasing.
Captain Marvel's powers too at that point.
Well, she did the phasing. She did the phasing thing. I read an article. I saw an article real quickly earlier today that was talking about some of the powers she used. And I watched it. When I watched it again today, I saw it. When he throws the car at her, she uses that phasing power that Ghost Woman and Ant-Man had.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Where the car goes right through, where she goes right through the car, however you want to say it. You know, so she's using powers that we didn't even know were available to her. Like, how does she know?
How to use them?
Yeah, and how she just instinctively it just I could see Gravik using some of these no, because he got him right then also. Because that's when I realized that it
he
was
turned
Gaia.
Groot and just put his like tree trunk hand into the guy.
Yeah, because
well,
if you really think about it, I mean, basically Gaia became the most powerful character in all of the MCU.
Yeah,
and it's like,
absolutely.
come on, man, that's just stupid. I
Yeah.
mean, who wrote this? I mean, and
AI.
you know what? No, I don't think it's AI. Listen, I mean, I'm all up for the fact that these writers are on strike and they should get paid and stuff like that. But fuck you, man. If you can't write something the right way and you go against what the IP really is, and you go against, I don't know, 60, 70 years of comic book stories and all these things, just because you want to make a name for yourself and say, well, you know what? Screw it. If I screwed it up, I just move on to the next project I have. Well, guess what? You might be able to do that, but you just disappointed a whole bunch of fans.
Yeah.
Well, Chris Claremont actually dealt with that in the 80s during the X-Men run too, because he had to change a whole bunch of things, which kind of screwed up. So it's like it was kind of like a rewrite and restructure at that point. And they wound up doing that later on in the 90s with X-Men as well. So just to use a reference point, they've done it in other comics also, and other story plots. And I'm sure you listeners who are comic readers will feel the same way. It's like, wait a minute, but we had that story and they summed that up as like a what if, or it's an alternate universe, or if they decide out of the blue, and I'll laugh at Marvel if they do this, but the one elephant in the room that we have to deal with after this is when we get the Thunderbolts. Okay, is Valentina Allegra de Fontaine a Skrull, and that's what her ulterior motive was through Gravik to get all these superheroes together, like the fake Captain America from Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and get all these other characters that are going to be in there. I'm curious. Was the Crimson
This is
Guardian
one of those.
a Skrull?
Yeah, this is one of those things where this particular show makes you question a lot of the things from that the MCU has done. And while granted that by having Skrulls impersonate people, then yes, you should question everything, because now you're like, oh, but if this is the last show and they're not doing anything, this sucks, because now you left a whole bunch of people saying, well, what about this and what about that? And okay, Rhodey, was in Civil War. That's when they grabbed them, or because the only thing they're concentrating now on is Kang the Conqueror.
Right. So, not even that now. They're literally sidestepping. They're only working with the IP that they already started putting into production, which would be the Thunderbolts, the Marvels, and whatever else comes after that. They're not putting those into fruition.
We'll see what happens with Kang, because now that they found Jonathan Majors,
innocent
of all the charges.
Because I didn't even know what happened or what he was charged. I didn't know any of this.
He was charged with, I think it was sexual violence or something like that. I mean, it was pretty bad.
He basically, they're saying that he attacked his girlfriend at that time. She came around, said something different. People had videos, some people didn't. Then they stated that she did something to him. Then she turned around and changed her tune. So we don't know. And a lot of what Marvel and Disney are waiting for is the ultimate outcome. But as always, there's always a way to write around it, because a lot of people were not, even the fans were not happy with the idea of having Kang as the ultimate baddie for Secret Wars. So they could have easily used the Beyonder, or I'm forgetting the alien that looks like a bug, Annihilus. And that was another opportunity as well. They could always just state this whole Kang thing throughout Loki, and everything was still a multiverse thing with time, and they have issues with it.
They could, and I think they should have just kept that. They should have kept the Kang part as Disney shows. And then again, I think the Secret Invasion should have been a major event. But if not, that's when you kick it into high gear and go, you know what? We have to introduce the Fantastic Four as soon as possible, so that, because Fantastic Four also has major comic book events.
Oh yes.
So you know what? Then that will be the next thing. As soon as you introduce that,
Yeah.
You can then what they should have done is introduce the Fantastic Four first, where now you have Skrulls in the Fantastic Four, and then the whole secret invasion thing could have happened. That would have been fucking fantastic to do.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
somebody jumped the gun and decided, oh, let's do a spy thriller.
Yeah. And
Listen,
so now,
it worked for Star Wars with Andor. It didn't work with this.
No.
but with that thought of getting back to Secret Invasion episode 6, that end scene between Gaia and Sonya Farnsworth really sets it up for, if they get a second, I don't know if they're going to get a second season or not, or do a
I don't
movie.
think they are.
It really sets up, but it sets up future MCU things, because Sonya says, well, your people are going to need a leader, and your people are going to need someone to rally around. So obviously she's trying to push Gaia to become this new leader of the Skrulls that are out there and bring them together. And so I don't know what's going to come of that, if we're ever going to get anything of that. But that
I
would
doubt
be
it, because this was the lowest rated MCU show on Disney Plus ever.
Even
Okay.
on Rotten Tomatoes, it shows the lowest rating
Okay.
overall.
Well, and she also
and
still
that's
has the Doctor.
That's
so-
including Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which got slammed because people were against the whole Black Lives Matter thing because of how they were presenting it then. I enjoyed it and I love the representation, but that's my opinion. But with this, it showed in the writing of how bad it was. And Steve, you and I covered Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and that espionage aspect was written very well, as well as Hawkeye. And we got some mobster stuff going on within Hawkeye. But this, they fell short. I think they need to say, okay, this is not canon, and we can move on, and we don't talk about Skrulls again.
Unfortunately, they'll never do that, where all of a sudden they backpedal and say, oh, this was maybe a different universe. It'll be great, because you know
they
what?
did that with S.H.I.E.L.D. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is considered non-canon now.
I know, but and it's
but
funny.
It was
I read an article.
Network. It was a whole, go ahead, Rob.
I was going to say, I read an article there that was saying that the whole secret invasion thing was already done in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It was a different alien or whatever it was, but it was done much better than what they did here.
Because they had seasons upon seasons to work with it.
Right. But the whole thing is that when you look at something like this, now we have unanswered questions. They still haven't even mentioned the big freaking head and hand coming out of the ocean, the Pacific Ocean, from the Eternals. These are like all things that they decide to do, and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, you know what? Let's just gonna toss that aside.
No, so they're going to use it. It's going to have adamantium in it, and then that will have.
I just know that, like, they'll do these things, and all of a sudden they just kind of leave people hanging. I was one of the first people to say, listen, I'm going to give the show a chance. I mean, you got Samuel L. Jackson, you got Emilia Clarke, you got all these great people in there. It has to be good. Apparently it wasn't. I mean,
I fell off, honestly. I was hopeful for the first 3 episodes. By episode 4, it's when I started to be like, okay, I'm concerned about this. And then the last 2 episodes, I'm like, they really needed to rethink this. And
they should have taken some more time.
Give it some time, or if not, have people review it beforehand. You do this with movies already.
Right.
You sit people down in a theater and say, well, what do you think? Well, I didn't like that or that or that because you have a problem with this and this and this. And then they'll take that into consideration, and they had to do that with the Marvels.
I'm just wondering, because whenever they do test screenings, unfortunately, they never do test screenings with real fans. And I can understand, too, because real fans are going to be the biggest dicks out there.
Oh, yeah.
But at least people that are in the know, as opposed to, I'm just going to take the average person that doesn't know shit about Marvel and see if they like it. And they're like, oh yeah, it was great. And they're like, okay, they're less released. And it's like, no, man, you gotta also, put some fan service there. But if you're gonna put the fan service, it has to be smartly done.
Well, what they should always do, and this is my idea, and I've had it for years, to do a screening for something that you're trying to make when it comes to pop culture. Conventions are your guide. Sit them down. Hey, this is something that we're working for. We're only bringing in 20 people. You get to watch this, but you can't say you have to sign this NDA, but give us your honest opinion. Have them watch it, take notes, because those true fans will give you the most honest opinion.
And it happens all the time. So I don't know if Disney is actually arrogant enough to bypass that and say, well, you know what, we're just going to give this to fans because you know what, we're Disney and they'll eat up anything that. Well, guess what? People didn't like this. By the way, Steve, he did have the little beanie in the hospital.
Okay, so yeah, so that's what I'm saying. It's inconsistent on beanie.
He didn't have it at the very end when he goes up into space.
And he's got the eye patch, but he's got the eye patch on.
He has the eye patch on.
Yeah. So I'm like, make up your mind. So
I'm okay with that because it just means he just took off the hat. That's all it means. He doesn't have to have the hat, throughout the end. Sometimes you gotta, let the ball head, breathe a little.
I know. I just
and unlike mine, that got burnt while I was at work too the other day.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, I came into work and one of the guys from the other installers were like, "Hey, Mark, you Dominican now? Why? Because your head is so brown."
Yeah. It's just sad that this show could have been so great. It really could have. And
no, you're right. I mean, it's so here's the thing. Was this whole series necessary if the Kree are willing to talk about peace? Because if they were, this whole show just like goes down the tube.
Bypassed. And I have to laugh too for the fact that the way Disney is trying to market things now. They are now allowing it to be on Hulu and a couple of other services, even on ABC. Like they're releasing Miss Marvel on ABC.
Yeah, because they got to make money.
TV. So they're going to get more of an audience at this point because a lot of people who don't subscribe will watch it being like, oh, it's free. I could watch it now.
Yeah.
But
it's not about getting an audience. It's about the fact that they're not getting any more subscribers and they're losing money. So now they're licensing a lot of their stuff to other networks and things like that in order for them to actually make money back, because that was the biggest mistake that these streaming services did, was thinking, oh, if I keep all of our IP in one central location, then that means I'm going to have everybody come there. Well, yeah, you kind of did, but you still have to pay these actors and writers and directors, residuals. And guess what? That they just weren't making money. So what are they doing now? They're licensing a lot of their stuff. They're not even putting it on their stuff. It's like, let's put it somewhere else because at least we know those people are paying us.
Very true.
So that's one of the reasons they did that. I mean, so that's what I've seen. I've seen that. I saw Endor, actually. I think the first couple of episodes or something like that was also, in ABC or something like that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because remember that if they put it on network television, what's going to happen? Advertisers advertisers are going to be basically paying for that. So, by the way, I'm sorry, but I just couldn't kiss a Skrull, man. I don't care.
Sharp teeth.
I mean, she has those gnarly teeth. Like, if you tell me that she looks like Gamora with a little bit of a chin, wrinkle, sure. But this chick was not very. This is not a very good looking woman, man.
Tickle my ears. Tickle my ears.
I am all for alien love, but come on, man.
That is true. Rob, to talk about screeners now, you and I was on what you covered for The Last Jedi. So, do you think that would have, like the Star Wars series that came out with after Abrams put out the Force Awakens, do you think they would have benefited from screeners from fans at conventions?
Oh my God, yes. But the problem with that is that when you spend that much money and you say, hey, we did this, that movie has so many things wrong with it that it would have been going back to the drawing board. And how does Disney recover that money? Yeah. Their whole thing was arrogance. It was just pure arrogance. They said, hey, what is it? Force Awakens made all this money. And the problem was that the freaking movie made $1.3 billion anyway. So it was above 90% with the critics, but it was still in the 40% with the audience. It still made 1.3 billion. So they decided to go on with a third movie that was just still crap. And that made also money.
See, I liked all three of those movies. So you guys just
you definitely don't want to hear my podcast on The Last Jedi, man.
Steve doesn't want to be on there.
Yeah.
I always say this when it comes to the IP, and I said this the last time when it was you, Zach, and Frank and my feeling is with Star Wars, I liked aspects of all those, even the prequels. Didn't mean I loved them, but I did enjoy aspects of them. So I took away from it. So they did something a little bit right, but mostly for the part of nostalgia. But
Right.
yeah, I think Marvel is in for a rude awakening coming soon when it comes to all this, when with their, for the fact that they had to reshoot a lot of the Marvels recently after they had a
Right.
screener and people backlashed during the
Mm.
screeners. So they had to redo those, and that's what
Did
we're
you see
getting.
did you see the latest trailer of the Marvels?
Yes, I did.
I'm
So
s-
they
uh, a
they
lot of
took
people,
stuff out of there from the
right.
original trailer too.
I mean, a
Hmm.
lot of people are excited about it because they're like, "Oh, it's it looks like fun," but you know what? Until I sit in the audience and
Yeah,
actually go, "Holy crap, this surprised me." It's no longer the how is it? If it's a Marvel movie, I definitely got to go because it's going to be good.
yeah,
That
you're
that
at that
stuff
point of speculations at this point because it's the
is
Marvel machine is wearing down.
it's
Uh,
just like DC.
well, DC, what was their biggest hit? Aquaman. I think
Uh
Aquaman was the biggest hit.
Aquaman was their biggest. I think it's like that made over $1 billion or
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah, the first Aquaman.
Yeah,
So
no, it's it's just
they haven't been able to survive since. But I think the Marvel machine needs to retool a little bit when it comes to writing. I think the talent's already out there as far as actors, and when it comes to CG, it's just the writing aspect of it and
it's
making
the writing
continuity
aspect
better.
of it. It's the fact that first of all, don't treat your visual effects teams
Like
like
garbage.
shit. Yeah, like
Yeah,
garbage and try to, pump out so much for so little. But it's also the fact that I think Oppenheimer and Barbie proved to Disney and everybody else and shit, even Warner Brothers, because Warner Brothers, is the one that did Barbie,
yeah,
that when you have the right people in a project who are passionate about that project and respect the project,
correct.
you're going to get a good movie. But if you all of a sudden are arrogant enough to think that you know the project, but you don't, because from what I heard, Barbie was going to be done with Barbie, what's her name? Amy Schumer,
Hmm.
um, years and years ago when another studio had the rights, and you could tell that was going to be a disaster.
Oh yes,
So I mean, of course, Margot Robbie does look like a Barbie, but the thing is that I mean, it's actually Margot Robbie, the one that's really responsible, I think, for a lot of the success of Barbie because she also produced it.
Hmm.
So, but there's an IP that there was so much love behind it, and guess what? Everybody went. I mean, it was amazing. And let me tell you, I grew up working when I was in high school. Grew up working in Toys R Us. The one aisle that I hated the most was Barbies
Mhm.
because one, at the end of the night, you have to put all these toys away because, of course, kids come in, take toys. Mom, buy me this toy, and then mom says, "No, put that down." They put it somewhere else. Um, and every time I went into the Barbie aisle, the first thing I said is like, "What is it that you do? That you have fucking mansions, Corvettes, and everything? Are you like a high class whore or something?" I don't. I mean, come on. And then all of a sudden she has all these different careers. I'm like, no human being has all those careers. And it was always pink. So I was one of those people that really hated it, but I loved the movie because one, it is a very female empowerment type of movie.
yeah,
But the fact was that it had a good story behind it. The acting was great. Ryan Gosling was fantastic on it. You had a team of people that really took their time and to do something like this. And Warner Brothers should be actually looking at themselves and going, "All right." And I guarantee you this: Warner Brothers probably looked at that and looked over at James Gunn and says, "If you cannot produce that same kind of excitement that Barbie brought in, you're out.
Mm.
You're out." Because it was so great to see people in the theaters. I mean, first of all, it packed the theaters.
Mm.
Oppenheimer and of course Barbie packed theaters, which is all the things that we want.
yeah,
But you saw so many people engaged. You saw so many people wearing pink to support the movie. I mean, it was just like a sea of pink. But the beauty of that was that then they will, as soon as they were done with that movie, you would see them go now to see Oppenheimer, which is a completely opposite movie of what Barbie would be.
Right.
But they supported that too. And those two movies coming out at the same time, I mean, what they were projected to make, it exceeded that so
it big time.
far. But those are movies that were those like Oppenheimer to me is a film.
Yeah.
That's a film that you sit down. That was something that was actually, done very well. Sound design, fantastic. But now you're looking at something like Barbie, which of course is for kids and things like that. But adults enjoyed it because it had a lot of adult humor in there. But it was well written and it kept you engaged. I saw people with with T-shirts that had combinations, Barbenheimer. Yeah, Barbenheimer or something like that. There was one that had the logo of Mattel, because the logo of Mattel is like this pink with like all these little stars going, or like these little points going all around it. And in the middle, in Barbie font, it says, I have become death, the destroyer of worlds. And I was like, that's the best T-shirt I've ever seen. Because from far away, you think it says Barbie, but when you read it, it's actually the Oppenheimer thing. And it was like, that's the kind of stuff that I miss. That's the kind of stuff that we all want. We want to be excited to go to the movies. We want to be engaged in the movies. We want people. And when you keep putting garbage out like this whole Secret Invasion, and when you put garbage out like like The Flash and some of the other movies. I mean, The Flash, I think the biggest thing that's made The Flash suffer was Ezra Miller.
Yeah.
That being said, but you see stuff like, Black Adam, you see things like, the Shazam movie, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. You're like, come on, man. I mean, movies are expensive nowadays.
Yeah.
Don't make me waste money on this stupid stuff, because
it's
you know
like
what?
Going to the theater, if you go into a Broadway play now, and then to take a whole family, it's going to cost you over like $150 to $200 for a night out.
In a Broadway play, try like over 600. Broadway, I mean, a ticket is about $100 each. You got a family of 4. You're already in the $400 to $500 range, and you haven't even gone to dinner yet.
I know that.
So. Yeah, no, it's just, movies are expensive. It's all expensive. But, these movies also, I think these studios got to really stop saying, you know what, we'll put it out in a month and a half in streaming.
Well, that's what happened to Flash. Look at that. It came out on streaming how soon? As soon as I put the episode out on the podcast, it came out.
For streaming. For streaming, yeah. No, I know that what is it? Transformers is already out on Paramount Plus.
Yeah. It's so fast based upon what they projected and what they could get, and then if they can't make any money, they pull it. But all right, well, as you listeners could tell, Rob and myself were not big fans at the very end of Secret Invasion. Steve, you were a little bit hopeful.
I mean, I'm still hopeful that they could do something with what they set up. Maybe, but I thought the same thing about Moon Knight. We haven't seen any movement from Moon Knight.
Not even that. Yeah, not a word. That was a really good. That was a really good series.
Oh, it was great. It was amazing, and they've done nothing with it since. So
I was not a fan of that one either. But okay,
whatever, man.
Everybody has their own fandom. That's the whole thing, which is fine. But yeah, it's everybody has difference of opinion. So. I knew a lot of people who hated Guardians of the Galaxy. Mainly, I understood recently why, because of how the treatment of animals and things of that nature. So I understand from their viewpoint and why they protested and didn't like it. I was weighing more on the side of this is fantasy and fiction. And it does tug on your heartstrings when it comes to stuff like that.
The treatment of animals. You mean the CG animals that they were using?
Yes,
that they're not real and they don't exist in real life?
Correct.
Sure.
But I understand from their viewpoint and their feeling. Aside from that, we're gonna move right along into, since we're breaking down to the end of the podcast. And obviously no feedback was given. We're not gonna bring up news. This is already too long for just 2 episodes as it is. But we'll go into some podcast recommendations like we like to do, and then where you could find us. So, Steve, any podcast recommendations you could think of?
I've been listening to The Psychologists Are In. It's a psych rewatch podcast with Timothy Amundsen and Maggie Lawson. And it's great. They just put out, I haven't listened to it yet. They just put out a reaction to the writers SAG after strike, probably talking about what the future is for their podcasts. But so that's one. And I would definitely recommend Talkville, which is Tom Welling and Michael Rosenbaum. I don't know how they're still putting out content. Maybe they recorded episodes prior to the strike, but they talked about the writers' strike in this last episode. So I can only assume that they must have had some in the can or something.
No, they haven't. Well, the thing is they haven't re-released Smallville in any major form.
Oh, so does that clear them to talk about it, even though
it allows them? So
okay.
If the company has not re-released it, let's say an anniversary DVD, and they're there promoting it. Now, mind you, when it comes to convention land that's out there, that people going to conventions, Monster Mania is this weekend, and they are doing a Lost Boys reunion with Kiefer Sutherland and a few other, Alex Winter and a few other people. All they're going to be there is for literally autographs, signings, and photo ops, but they can't really talk about anything else on the panel when it comes to the movie.
So those would be my two.
Did he have any kind of celebrities on there on his podcast?
Smallville on Talkville?
On Talkville, yeah. They actually
the writers
will call Al
directors.
And Michael the creators. They've had John Snyder on there a couple times already.
No, but I'm saying like after the strike.
Oh, no, I don't know. I don't know because they put out every Wednesday, and I was surprised to see a new episode this Wednesday.
Episodically,
I just listened to it, and they talked about, can we call Al and Michael, even though they said something about they might be on the picket line. So it definitely was during the writers' part of the strike that they recorded that podcast.
Right.
So I have to wait till next week to see if anything new.
I think when it comes to so if they did a podcast, as long as they're not promoting any movie that they're actually doing. Let's say they're just talking about themselves, or they probably talked about maybe some, part of their career or something completely different. I think it's okay. But if as long as it's not promoting, they're doing, because normally you get on these podcasts to kind of promote yourself,
Right. Yeah. No, they're not doing
talk shows or anything like that.
Yeah. Current projects.
And I think it's more of a. I think in this case, I think he's doing it more of a. Hey, listen, I'm just going to get people on and we just talk about shit. I don't know, talking about go to the supermarket.
Oh, they're talking about the episodes, and it's great. But Talkville is a great one to listen to. So I definitely recommend
I've seen it once in a while. Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah, they're really good. For us and our friends out there in the podcast universe, I want to highly recommend TV Podcast Industries with their coverage. They did cover Secret Invasion. They move right along and quickly. They are getting screeners, obviously, and are able to move right along into Good Omens Season 2. We will be covering it weekly, episodically, so you'll get a new episode next week as we start it. As far as guests are going to be on, hosts, not sure I'll be on, but I knew our friend Lyra's willing. Steve, you said you were interested. Anybody else in our group that we know of from the Zedheads. And this is where I go into my promotion for Podcastica. So podcastica.com, all that podcasts from that network. Obviously, Strange Indeed, Run for Your Lives. Got The Cast of Us, which actually finished up Dead City. And then I think there's a Wilhelm and Podcastica collaboration that's going on, which is called Barbenheimer. And you're going to get the coverage on Wilhelm for... I forget what it was. It's Steve. Barbie.
Ben and Christian did Barbie, and I think Jason and his crew did Oppenheimer, or it might be the other way around.
Yeah, I think it might be the other way around. So I think Ben and Kristen are doing Oppenheimer, and then whoever else is doing Barbie. But to listen to them back and back, so it's a collaboration between the Podcasting Network and Wilhelm. So check that out. So, well, now we're right into where you can listen to us. So, Rob, where can people listen to you?
Sure. Before I tell them where I listen to, my recommendations for anybody out there who wants to listen to a really good podcast called The Town with Matthew Bellany. He used to be a journalist with, I think, Entertainment Weekly and things like that. he does half-an-hour shows, but he really gets into the nitty-gritty of the business of Hollywood. And he has a lot of great interviews with actual executives or actual, people that are in the know. And you really get to know what's going on with the business itself. So I don't know if that's a part of, some people are sometimes wondering, oh, why do they do this? Or why do they do that? He gets into that kind of talk, which has opened my eyes to a lot of things of, oh, I can understand why they did this, or I can understand, what's going on, or why this movie didn't do very well, or this movie did very well, and what was behind all those things. So that's one podcast. The other one's called The Big Picture, which I also like. They also, cover, movies too. And for those people who are interested in soundtracks, the Soundtrack Show is a fantastic podcast. They cover he's a big John Williams fan, so he covers a lot of great John Williams, but he really gets into the nitty-gritty of those soundtracks on what does it mean every time he did this theme or this theme. So it really opened my eyes also to a lot of the John Williams and Steven Spielberg movies, where once you start to watch it again after what he explains, you're like, oh wow, there's so much meaning behind this music, which is the one thing I always say to people is like, sound and music and stuff like that is 50% of the movie, and sometimes it gets ignored a lot. So, but yeah, you can find me on Fantasy Picks Movie Edition. We just finished doing our fantasy pick on what was it,
The Last Jedi.
Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. We kind of went in there and kind of gave our opinion and why we think fans didn't like it. And before that, we actually did a episode which is actually a little bit long, but if you guys could do it, and if you guys are soundtrack fans, on our top 5 movie composers. And so it was the first time I ever used music in the podcast, so I put samples of those of their tracks, which is actually pretty cool. So if you can, please check it out.
Cool. Steve?
I can be heard sending voicemails to our friends' podcasts out there, and right here on Panels to Pixels, of course. But yeah, that's where you can hear me.
Right. And as of course myself, you could hear me right here on Panels to Pixels podcast, as well as Adrenaline Cinema podcast. Yeah, I released. I think the last thing I released was The Thing 2011, but coming up will be The Lost Boys. So that's still out there for people to send in whatever. I haven't really finished editing, so if people want to do that, Breema and I could actually talk about your feedback. So if you guys want to throw that in, I could throw that in as a little extra. But beyond that, we'll be working on a couple of other episodes in the near future, and we'll keep you apprised about that.
What was the last episode you released?
The Thing 2011.
On what? Adrenaline Cinemas?
Yeah.
I thought it was Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh, Big Trouble in Little China. Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot what I released.
Yeah, that was the last thing you released, and then on Panels to Pixels, the last thing you released on that was Adam and Eve.
Yeah, Adam Eve. That was with me and Jamie. Also for you listeners to listen to as well, to let you be notified. Yes, Invincible's coming back November 3rd. So Jamie and I will be covering that episodically when it does come back on Amazon Prime.
And I'll probably pop in with some voicemails on those ones too.
Okay. or if not available, Steve will take control.
Okay.
But with that, well, talking about voicemails and feedback, you could send your feedback to our Facebook group, which would be facebook.com/Panels to Pixels, which actually I like to leave an image. So if we're covering the episode or whatever we're covering, like Good Omens, I already put it up. All you have to do is go to facebook.com/Panels to Pixels, and then just leave your comment in the image below, and that would be fine. You could go to our Twitter @Panels2Pixels, but now it's considered X. It's not Twitter, so I might be getting rid of it because we don't get really much traffic on there. But what I did do recently...
Is he really changing the Twitter name to X?
Yes.
How ridiculous.
Is he like getting rid of completely the name Twitter, or is it like, like, I don't know, like Facebook, that their parent company is Meta?
Meta. I'm not sure entirely, but we don't really get much traffic when it comes to Twitter at all. So my feeling is I'll just leave it on. What else we are using, which I actually did for Adam Eve, I put it on Instagram. So you can find us at Panels to Pixels Podcast on Instagram. So you could reach us out there as well. It can be heard on Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, or whatever podcast player of choice. If there's a rating or review, please do so if you can. Apple Podcasts is preferred because I guess it's the most premiered podcast player of choice and heralded highly. So please do so. You could always send us just a standard email. We have an email address, and you could just write out a standard texted email to panelstopixels1@gmail.com. Panels, 2 is spelled out T-O, and pixels and the number 1@gmail.com. So just write out your thoughts. We could read them. You could be part of the podcast that way, or even better, to be on the podcast itself. Record yourself. We have these devices, these handheld things. You can record your voice. Steve does it all the time. Don't you do it that way?
I do it. Yep. Right there on my phone.
Right there on his phone. And he live Steve's. And then he sends it out to everybody. And you don't have to worry about anything because it's on the other person's hand who's editing. But it's so cool. But we would love to hear your voice, and that way you be part of the podcast. So, like I said, email us at panelstopixels1@gmail.com. So, well, with that was our episode. I don't want to go any longer than we should because I don't want to bore everybody, because we already did take a long time with Secret Invasion.
Well, we were a little bit passionate about,
Other things.
well, no,
That is true.
also about the show, because
at the show too, yeah.
we expect so much out of Marvel, and while they have let us down in the last year or so, we're like the abused spouse that goes, you know what? I know he hit me, but I know he still loves me, so I'm going back to him. It's like that's who we
Stockholm
are.
Syndrome?
Oh, wow, wow.
Oh, jeez.
That's what we are. We
Rob.
are abused. We are abused children and abused spouses who believe that Marvel will get their shit together and we'll be.
I'm sure they. I'm sure we're gonna. Well, we got Spider-Man Across the Universe, so remember that. But that was a Sony product, and we have that to look forward to come out on Blu-ray and 4K. So
Yep.
But well.
That Rob, it's just
our
derailed
show.
everything.
I am Mark.
I'm Robert.
And I'm still Steve, I guess.
Same podcast, different panel, different pixel. And this is Panels to Pixels podcast. And we'll see you in the next panel. Good day, good night, sirs. And ladies and gentlemen.
Good night.
See ya.
Good night now.